Thank you. Now get out. All right. And now the audio coming coming at you in three, two, one. You're live.
Oh my God, how can you? We just came in here. You just listened to, and you're probably still rocking out wherever you're at, in your car, your house, your computer, your office, and you're not really working. You're listening to the new album. That was the first track, "Ladies from Hell," and our special guest will explain that title a little bit later. Don't send us any hate emails yet. It is so good. How do I follow that up, Doctor D? I mean,
Well,
damn.
I can say this much. It is great to listen to because my ears aren't bleeding. I know that I've heard that phrase before, that if you've got it up so loud, your ears will bleed,
I,
but mine are fine. I'm still hearing, and it sounds
Well,
unbelievable.
Dr. D, I'm sitting across from you here at the console, and I don't want to cause you any alarm, but your ears are bleeding.
Oh dear. Okay. Well, that answers that question.
And that, of course, I don't think I mentioned that's off the new Jeff Skunk Baxter's album, which is not out yet, I'm going to give you all the information to pre-order throughout the show here. And it might be one of the best albums I've heard. Rock and roll. I mean, this is rock and roll the way it's meant to be, and I haven't heard anything like this for a long time. Lucky us, we got a sneak peek of the album. Lucky you, you also get a sneak peek. We're going to play four of the songs that have not obviously yet been released on the show today. So you probably want me to tell you who our special guest is.
Would you tell us who our special guest is?
A very, very, very special guest.
You like my
Is
original questions?
I do. I like you asking back.
That's right.
Yeah, I
Echoing,
don't think you
echoing.
need a doctor yet, by the way, Doctor. I
Okay.
think it looks like the blood has stopped flowing a
Ah,
little
good.
bit.
Man,
But we got 20 minutes till we play the next one,
that's
so
true.
you might want to put some content in there. My special guest, my very special guest today is an emphasis on very special guest. Today is C.J. Vanston. C.J. Vanston is a film composer. He's a record producer. He's a songwriter and a keyboardist. We sum it all up with one title, Overachiever. His most recent work and a big accomplishment is on this album that you're going to hear throughout the show today. He's a musical partner with Jeff Skunk Baxter, and he's a co-producer and a co-writer of several tunes on the album Speed of Heat. Speed of Heat is to be released this June 17th, and just in time. This is your summer album, man. You're
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
want to play this everywhere you go. This is you're gonna hear it at the parties,
Out on
at
the
the
beach.
beach. Oh my God, this is good. Speed of Heat is to be released again June 17th by BMG Renewal Records. CJ, who did the music for some of my favorite and most funny movies out there, Christopher Guest. He's worked on Waiting and did the music for Waiting for Guffman. Best in Show. You know that one, Dr.
I
D?
think
Oh my
so.
God.
Oh, Lord.
A Mighty Wind and many more for Christopher Guest is also known as just a talented, world-renowned keyboardist. He even toured with Spinal Tap. Uh, there is rumor he may drop a little bit more. I hope this is okay if we mention, but there is rumor of a Spinal Tap too coming out.
Ooh. I like
Maybe
rumors.
I like rumors, and I hope that I even like when they come true if it's Spinal Tap. He's worked with Prince.
Yeah.
You may have heard of him.
Yeah.
NSync, Barbra Streisand,
Oh.
Ringo
Oh,
Starr,
yeah.
Celine Dion,
Okay.
Bob Seger,
Mm-hmm.
Richard Marx,
Mm-hmm.
Tina Turner,
Mm-hmm.
Alexz Johnson,
I think, in fact, we're building
Joe Cocker, Peter
enthusiasm
Cetera,
here.
Anna Vissi, the Yellowcard, Spinal Tap, Harry Shearer, Steve Lukather, Dennis DeYoung, and Toto, just to name a few. Def Leppard, by the
Wow.
way. We're gonna play one of his
Toto. Yeah.
Toto, yeah, and Def Leppard is one of my high school bands. I loved the Def Leppard.
You
Still
know,
do.
it's amazing to hear these names that I listened to when I was growing up in the 70s, and they're still around.
Yeah,
It's
and
incredible.
all these names that we've mentioned are
Yeah.
iconic, and the music is iconic. It's
That
our soundtrack
yeah.
of our life, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so when I say very special guest, now you get it, right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
um, to talk to a legend, and I don't use that word lightly, but he's a legend. CJ, he's done a lot of work. I just listen to these bands and I love them, and they've added so much to my life. He's actually worked with them or on them. So we're gonna find out what makes CJ tick today. Okay, let me do a little bit here about the album. Let me set that up, and then we'll bring in CJ. So he's been working, as I mentioned, with legendary rock and roll Hall of Fame guitarist Jeff "Skunk" Baxter. So Jeff was on, or Skunk, as he likes to be called, right? Was on this season on episode 449. So go back if you'd like. He talks all about the album and it coming out and his tour that he's on. But CJ worked with Jeff "Skunk" Baxter, who also, obviously is known, and if you don't know, he's known to everyone for his groundbreaking work with Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers. And from countless smash hit recordings he's performed on as an in-demand first call studio musician. He announced that he worked with CJ here. CJ is a producer and a songwriter. They announced that his first solo album. Now, he did mention in his interview that there was a solo album put out that he didn't approve of or wasn't involved in, really. But this is his first, I'm putting out a solo album. And I think it's 10 or 11 years, and CJ can clarify that for us and verify that for us. But since his days with the bands, the big bands. So it's coming out again on BMG Renewal Records on June 17, 2022. Welcome to the show, CJ.
Hey, nice to be here, guys.
So nice to have you here on a late Monday afternoon, joining us from, it looks like your home studio there in Hollywood. You're living in Hollywood these days, yes?
Studio City, yep.
Yes.
Hollywood Hills.
Yeah. How's it nice and hot down there today? It's beautiful.
It's perfect today. It's just one of those beautiful California days, and I've been at the NAMM convention the whole last weekend, and I was down there with Skunk.
Yeah.
And nice to be chilling out is all I'll say. It was exhausting, but wonderful. Great to see a lot of old friends down there, and it's good to see people out and celebrating music.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, what is NAMM and like what happens there? I've always wondered. I know what NAMM is, but what happens there and what?
Well, it's the National Association of Music Merchants, and it's pretty much where they debut. All the manufacturers are there at the convention center. Huge, giant convention. And they debut their newest instruments, and all the musicians that are their artists all show up, and it becomes this kind of, during the Wizard of Oz, when they hired all the little people to be the Munchkins, they put them all in one hotel, and I guess it was the wildest hang of all time. That's kind of what this is. When you put that many musicians in one place, it's just nuts. It's just great.
You probably can't repeat half of the stories that happen.
Oh no, it's just great fun. You walk down the hall and there's Steve Vai and there's Satriani and there's Jeff Baxter and just on and on. It's just musicians I've known
CJ.
And me. People, people that I've known for 30 years. So it becomes a giant reunion and all this great gear, and it's just nice to have a celebration of music all in one place. But anyway. Now I'm here. This is a nice kickback. So
yeah. Well, thanks for joining us after all that. You look rested. I don't know if that's hair and makeup or what down there you got.
Yeah, right.
You're looking good, my friend. I don't know what would be more thrilling or more what's more interesting even to me to be a CJ Vanston who has worked with all the groups and more that I've mentioned. I barely scratched the surface. To have been involved with all of them and their hits and their music in some way, and to be sought after, and then to also have an incredible career as a film composer on your own, and a keyboardist and a musician and an artist, a producer or an artist. I don't like Skunk or the band Def Leppard or Toto. they've got this amazing, iconic career, but you've also got your own, but you've worked with all of all the big ones and anybody who's anybody. I don't know which one I would be more
Well, and I want to
proud of.
dovetail
I
off
mean,
of the question to get to CJ, and that is, when you were working with them, they weren't were they the iconic groups, bands, and individuals?
Oh yeah, I'm not that
Fellow
old.
musicians.
I wasn't around when they were developing. I've
you brought
worked
it.
with most of these artists in their later, their legacy years, maybe. These
So
that I
have you
would-
been in awe of them, or
Oh my God.
how is that?
They obviously
No,
are on
some
him
of
as
these
well.
people I would have cut off a toe when I was 20 years old to even meet. And then to be working with them, let alone be producing and writing and traveling with them. It's just been it really was my goal, but it was a dream, and it turned into reality, and that just kind of built on itself. So
Amazing.
it's kind of Forrest Gumpy, really.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back. Let's start here. Let's start where it all began. CJ, you were born in Denver, Colorado to Bonnie Smith and Paul Vanston. Tell me about
Wow.
growing up in those early days in Denver.
Well,
City
I
I've
was
never
only
been
there
to.
8 months. I was
Oh,
only
8
there
months.
8 months because I was born with a heart defect and had to have heart surgery when I was 8 months old. So I think something happened to me then that's when my brain got probably lack of oxygen or something that sent me down this this other path here. So my heart's fine. I'm very healthy, but it saved my life. And anyway, we ended up back in Michigan, and my parents both musical on both sides. But my dad was a remarkable jazz pianist. And my parents split when I was 4, so he got an apartment over a stage in a nightclub. And I would go visit him at 4 and go up on top of in the apartment above the stage. And he would just lock me in the apartment and then go down and play his set. I mean, you'd never do that today. Child services would show up like in a helicopter if you did that today.
How
But I
old
would
were you
lie
when he
on the
did that?
floor.
How old
What's
were you
that?
when he did that?
4.
4. Okay, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think you'd be in trouble.
Yep.
So
Could you hear
So
the
I would-
music from below?
Oh, so that's what I was going to say. So I would just lie on the floor with my ear to the floor, and I'd hear that.
That's so
Oh,
cool.
I
wow.
could hear the applause, and I just loved it. Then on the breaks, the musicians would come up, and they'd be like, "Hey, baby, hey, Cat, how you doing, man? Everything good? Oh yeah." I'm like, these guys are so much cooler than those other people I see out there. I just loved the way they hung out. So Stan Kenton, he was a great big band leader,
Yeah.
loved my dad's playing. And he would always come to hear him. And one time he came up to the apartment on break with his band, a few guys from his band, and he had this big shock of white hair. And I was 4 years old, and I looked up like, wait a minute. And I look over in the corner, there's a Stan Kenton album sitting there with the same guy. And I just, 4 years old, I'm like, this is the first celebrity I've ever seen right in the room, right? And the guys all had cool suits on. And then I thought, wait a minute, if these guys are so successful, this is bullshit, because if they're so successful, why can't they afford their own cigarette? Why do they have to share a cigarette?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It was a funny smelling cigarette too. It had a different smell than the other cigarettes that I was used to.
There's
So-
the punchline.
There's the line.
So,
There's the reason.
one time, I guess one of the guys brought a big brick of weed with him, and back then it was like heroin. And my dad said, "Oh my God, put that and hide it in the oven. The cops will never look there." Because so then he went down and played the set, and in between songs, that was a song by Miles Davis. And the next thing we're gonna do is a Dizzy Gillespie, and then the drummer goes, "Somebody's smoking weed in the club." And they're
Uh-oh.
looking around the club. Who would be smoking weed? And all of a sudden, my dad goes, "Oh, Jesus!" Out the door, up the fire escape, opens the door to the apartment. It's a complete whiteout. I've turned on the oven, and he looks down. I'm 4 years old. I look up and I go, "Hi, Dad."
What?
Stoned out of my brains at 4 years old. So I guess what I'm saying is I was raised by wolves, you know.
Is that when you jumped on the keyboards? You could just play, or you thought you could?
That was a whole brain short circuit.
Oh my
So
God.
that's, you know, I just knew right then that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be around these cats, these crazy guys, and I was, you know, kind of a small version of a child prodigy. It came to me very, very easy. And anyway, I got in, started playing classical, taking lessons. I got competing in some state level stuff, and was supposed to go to college for music. And that summer, I did not want to go to college and study classical music. And I snuck into a club. I was put ahead of grades, so I was 17. And I snuck into a club and I saw an all black funk band. And it was like seeing the Holy Grail. I'm like, okay, this is the shit. What is this? They're playing Earth, Wind, and Fire, and you know, the Ohio Players, Isley Brothers, all that great stuff. And they had this amazing singer built like a linebacker, just charismatic and handsome. And so I went and bought a bunch of vinyl and shedded got all my funk riffs together. Later that summer, I'm playing in a club. By the way, I grew up in an all-white town, just all white. Playing in a club, and there's that guy standing back at the bar listening to me play, the only black guy in the place. And I hit my effects pedal and started played all this funk stuff. Got done, and he was gone. I thought, well, how the hell would he walk out while I was burning it up like that? I was really pissed. So I walk off the stage. He's standing right there, and he goes, "Y'all playing with us now." So I sold the car my dad got me for graduation, bought a Mini Moog, and got on a yellow school bus and hit the bar circuit with a black funk band.
Wow.
And that was it for college.
Wow.
That's
And that led to all sorts of cover bands. I spent a year doing Elvis imitators. I mean, it's nuts. But eventually, one of our bands went to Chicago to make a record. And we recorded in the studio where Styx had recorded. And I walked in like, whoa, what is this? So we spent 5 days recording all these songs. And on the 6th day, the engineer said, well, let's do some keyboard overdubs. And I had all my synthesizers. And we had 4 days booked for that. Well, I did it all in one day, did the whole record in one day. And the guy came out and he goes, where did you learn how to do this? You're so good at this. And I said, oh, this is the first time I've ever done this. And he goes, oh my God, okay. You're a born session musician. You got to get in the studio down here. And that led to me moving to Chicago and becoming the first call keyboardist for jingles for about 8 years there. You know, 3, 4, 5,000 jingles, working with incredible musicians, sight reading, playing jazz, classical, blues, you know, making the sound of flying shrimp for Red Lobster, you know, all sorts of crazy shit. But it was a great training ground for the studio. And the top producer, there was a guy named Dick Marx, and he says, my son's making a record. You got to go out to LA and do a song with him. So I came out to LA, and I blew off everything I was doing there, moved to LA. And the first song I did was a song that wasn't even supposed to go on the record. It was called Right Here Waiting. It was one of the biggest hits of the entire 80s. It was a giant hit. So my phone was just started ringing off the hook. And I just, you know, this is Phil Ramone. This is, you know, all these great producers started calling me, and I started working on records, and
word was out.
You know, word got around, and that was kind of, I was off and running.
Crazy.
Wow.
It's never a straight path, is it?
No.
To someone's success in your business,
But
and not only one business, but you're mastering, you know.
But what a great education.
Yeah. I mean,
And this is one of the reasons why I'm a firm believer that people have to find their own way, that college, formal 4-year university, isn't necessarily for everybody.
Well, look, music comes from your soul, and your soul is enriched by life experiences. So, you know, you got to be out living life. And I told a bunch of film students, I said, there's some of you guys out there that could probably play circles around me, note-wise. But, you know, what I've done in my life compared to what you've done, you know, no offense, but there's no comparison.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure you get out there and live life, and hopefully there's some disappointment in there. And of course there is, and especially if you're a musician, and that comes out in your music.
Yeah, it's all one. I was talking to somebody last night actually that's a up and coming rap artist, and if that's the right term these days, and he said he's been through a lot, and I said what, he said he said thanks for playing on my stuff on the show and all that, and I don't have a lot of support out there. I haven't had a lot in my life, and I said, well, all that stuff is I can feel it in his music, and,
Yep.
and the same with
What
you.
it's supposed to be. All the great music that we hear is from life experience. So
One-
anyway, just started becoming, hundreds of sessions. And of course, sitting on the sessions, here's Steve Lukather sitting across from me. Here's Lee Sklar. Here's Jim Keltner. Here's Dean Parks, So I spent 30 years in the studio with the best musicians in the world. And, you better be good if you can hang with that crowd. So I learned how to play every style and work with these guys. And of course, they dug what I was doing. And so the word got around, and all of a sudden I'm working on their records. So, and Jeff was one of them. By the way, Jeff and I, Skunk, they were flying him to Chicago to do some of these jingles. And
back in the day?
yeah, and that's where I met him, was on a jingle. And the producer was a madman. He started drinking at about 7 a.m, and he was a genius and a really wonderful guy. But this time the chart was sitting in front of us, and it just said Hyatt, and it was blank. There was nothing on it. And he goes, well, will you guys come up with something? So Skunk and I look at each other, and I just met him, and we just started playing, and it was like magic. And that was the foundation for us.
That was the meeting, huh?
That's when Jeff said, I got to make a record with this guy. So
That's
Jeff, go ahead.
Well, listen, we got to take a real quick break,
Sure.
CJ. But before we do answer this last question for me, if you wouldn't mind, we talked. It's never a straight path, right, to success. And there's all these film students and musicians and artists that look at you and go, "How did you make it?" And they want to know the secret, and because they have no idea where to start and all that. Do you think that and everybody's in that business as an artist, I'm sure everybody has their own path and is going to find their own path a different way. There's not one set way. There's some principles I'm sure that you could follow, treating people kind and networking and having some actual talent. Do you think you could replicate your path to success if you had to start all over today?
Yes, and for only one reason. I had an intense, burning desire. That's all I wanted in the entire world. I ate, drank, and slept it every single day, laying in bed, disappointed. How do I make it better? How do I get better? How do I program better sounds? How do I play better? Yes, absolutely, 100%. It'd be a completely different path. And by the way, I feel for these kids today. It was so much cooler back then because you didn't need to have another job. I grew up playing clubs and making enough money to buy synthesizers, and all we did was play music. That's all we did. These kids today have got to focus so much on their social media and probably while having another job, so.
Yeah, Rich Ezra was telling us that now, they got to do 45% of the heavy lifting before they even get to anybody to consider to sign them, bring up their image and their media and all that. Well,
But I would have done that. I would have done it, and I would have reveled in it, because it's just getting to that goal. But I will say the last thing, what I did for a living for 35 years is a non-existent job now, and being a studio musician. It's gone.
Really?
Yeah. There's no such thing
We'll
anymore.
talk about that when we come back.
You got
on the other side. Stay with us. We've got CJ Vanston, the great CJ Vanston. He's an American film composer, record producer, songwriter, keyboardist, so much more. He's also a co-producer and co-writer on several of the tunes on the new album we're featuring throughout the show here, Speed of Heat. It's Jeff Skunk Baxter. It's his first solo album. It's released on June 17th by BMG Renewal Records. Social media, let me tell you where you can find and follow CJ Vanston. On Instagram at CJ Vanston. Facebook at CJ.Vanston. And on Twitter at CJ Vanston. You can find him on all these platforms and keep up with him and what he's doing. Every day is a new day, and every week he's putting out new stuff, it seems like, and he's got his fingers everywhere. Incredibly talented artist, CJ Vanston. We'll be right back after this break. Dr. D, don't cut me yet. Get the album. I want you to pre-order this because I'm telling you, you're going to hear it here for yourself and you'll make your own decision. But this is a hot album. It is so good. It's rock and roll all the way with some great artists on it. It comes out June 17th again, 2022 on BMG Renewal Records, and you can get it on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Music, and on the iTunes store. You can pre-reserve your copy today. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Pre-order, I should have said.
3.
I'm going to shut my door here. That there's a leaf blower outside.
Sure.
Oh. We could have called Vinny and Guido and said, take care of this guy. Get him out of here.
Okay.
Ready? Here we go. In 3.
Yep.
You ready, CJ?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. You're live.
Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. We have CJ Vanston. The great CJ Vanston is on the show today. He is a film composer, record producer. He's a songwriter and a keyboardist. He is the co-producer and co-writer of several tunes on Skunk, Baxter, Jeff Skunk Baxter's new solo album, Speed of Heat, is coming out on June 17th. You can pre-order your copy everywhere. BMG Records, Renewal Records. You can get it on Amazon, Apple, anywhere you buy a record. Go do that now. Pre-order. I'm telling you, it's hot. We just we left with My Old School, which was the first single dropped from the album, and just came in with Speed of Heat. It's still playing in the background. It's burning up the studio. Good
I was
work,
going to
CJ
say,
Vanston.
we normally, I will tell you, CJ, we normally try not to get the studio this hot because of fire dangers in
Sprinklers
California.
come on.
But the sprinklers come on, so that's fine.
That's why Richard's wearing a hat.
That's
Dr. D's wearing a hat.
exactly. Got to keep my glasses from getting all steamed up.
But that's the music. This song coming back, one of my favorites. I think it's one of yours as well, CJ. Speed of Heat. Dr. D, your shoes are on fire. Okay. Let me ask you. I wanted to. I mean, I'm in awe of your accomplishments. Yeah, but you weren't born a film composer, CJ. You weren't born a record producer. You weren't born a songwriter or a keyboardist. I'm always curious about how someone finds these passions and then becomes the very best in the world at them.
Yeah.
We talked about kind of how you got there, CJ. I think it's a really incredible example of just following your passions. Would you mind, though, telling us how do you switch hats for each of these roles? So we could start with a producer. How do you switch from an artist to a producer for you worked with Prince, you've worked with Def Leppard, you worked with Toto, Barbra Streisand, the list goes on. How do you switch that role?
Okay, well, I've done thousands of sessions, record sessions, and all with the greatest producers in the world. People like Phil Ramone, David Foster, Greg Ladani, who did a lot of the older Toto stuff, and the greatest engineers in the world, Ed Cherney, late Ed Cherney, Al Schmidt, Humberto Gatica. So I spent every day in the studio with these great producers and great engineers. So even though I was on the other side of the glass as a keyboardist, they started leaning on me for arrangement ideas, because usually the keyboard guy is the guy that has the most harmonic knowledge, and it's like, hey, what if we took the bridge up a third and came back, put a 2/4 bar there, let's just do a breakdown of just half the B section. They'd be like, okay, you keep doing what you're doing there. So, then they'd start calling me in the control room. They go, hey, well, let's look at this. And so I spent a lot of time when maybe some of the other guys were telling jokes and stuff in between takes, I'd race back into the control room to watch what was going on there. So I just learned from the absolute best in the world, the legends in the world. I was doing that 5 or 6 days a week for, 20 years. And I think what propelled me was when I worked with the worst ones, the worst producers and the worst songwriters. And I'm like, I can do better than this. This is, as a matter of fact, how I started mixing all my projects was Steve Lukather, his first solo album that I did, All's Well That Ends Well. He was working with another guy and he wasn't happy with him. but he played me some mixes. He said, what do you think of these mixes? I said, this sounds like dog shit. This sounds absolutely awful. He's ruined your record here. And he got kind of defensive. I said, put on my original demo, the one that we did in 3 hours when we started with no song. And 3 hours later, we had the song demo, put that on, and it just jumped out of the speakers. There was no comparison. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but what I'm getting to is,
I will.
Thanks. He just looked at me and goes, you're mixing my record. And I go, I'm not a mixer. He goes, oh, yes, you are. And I realized, well, of course, I've been looking over the shoulders of Greg Ladani for 20 years. I've been watching the way everybody did it. And without knowing, I was learning so much. Osmosis, I learned so much. But how the different hat question, I just was born with ears and kind of a photographic memory. And I can tap into about everything I've ever heard. So there's a strange kind of math going on inside of my head. So I always had great ears when I was a kid. I remember we went to a museum when I was probably 11, and they had a thing with our band director, and they had a thing that played a quick tone, boop, and then they had a knob, and you, and everybody tried to get back to that original, boop, and it showed, 13% off this way, 27. Well, the band director got to like, he was minus 0.13 or something like that. And everybody's like, wow. Well, I walked up 0. I was 11.
Thank you very much. I'll see you later.
It was just, I didn't sit and twist it. Like, I just went boom. It was just like nothing to me. So that instinct was there from a very early age. So what I'm getting to is I don't see much of a difference between composing for film and telling a story on a record. It's all storytelling through music and putting emotion
and
into
songwriter,
music to convey an emotion. Yeah.
And a songwriter as well, right? When you
absolutely
process, as a film composer, you're probably music director and organizing all these different instruments and this feeling, telling this story. The same with a song, the same as a producer for an artist. Now, when you go into a songwriter, is there a difference in atmosphere and environment for you? Is there? I'm quiet and I'm telling my story, and it has to come to me in a different way, in a different method, a different discipline.
Well, it's a different discipline because writing a song means you're the screenwriter also. You're coming up with, it's a guy who grew up and he meets the girl and da-da-da. You're writing the story of that also. So obviously a movie's already been written. The idea and the story is there. But as far as the how it feels working with the people, I've been lucky enough to work with Christopher Guest now for 32 years, I think I've been working with him. And, we're just both sitting there in our jeans and our t-shirt, cup of coffee, and I played something, I go, huh? And he goes, I go, yeah, okay. And that's kind of the extent of the conversation. We just know each other so well. And by the way, I've, been thrown a lot of much bigger Hollywood film stuff. And every time I got into it, that is something I was not comfortable doing. It's
what's that?
Just so much bureaucracy in becoming and doing a big Hollywood film as a composer. It just, and I would have had to left being a session musician and a songwriter and have to leave all that behind. It that just wasn't something I wanted to do. You're waking up to 50 emails.
You say you have ears. Have you listened?
I'm sorry?
Albums. I say you. I almost didn't catch that. But you sit there and you listen to, let's say, an album or even just a song. Or in my instance, I'm watching some of these awards programs, and I've been engineering and producing programs and all this kind of stuff for over 40 years, and I listen to the faux pas. Okay, what do you mean his mic isn't on? Who the hell's running?
Oh God!
Or I have an album going back to the mid 70s, or actually early 70s. And it's just some of the songs, the vocals are distorted, okay? If you will, there, as some would say, there's fuzz on top. And I'm going, was the engineer not listening to
Well,
this guy singing and writing gain and adjusting the levels?
well, this is
You ever-
exactly what I was saying
Yeah.
was the onus of me learning how to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I worked with engineers that did that. And I go, hey, move that, put that over, not that. And then finally, you know what, get out of the way. And I'd be bam, 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 bam. I could work 10 times faster than that.
Yeah.
And like I said, I learned a lot from working with people that didn't know shit.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from people that did. So, but a lot of motivation of going, I can do a better job than this.
Let's go back for a second to something you said right before Richard's question about the big Hollywood films. 50 emails a day. I know it's overwhelming. It would take from your other path. I'm taking notes here. I want to be CJ Vanston, and I'm taking notes.
Hey, look, it's a
I
flaw
heard.
at the same time. There's guys that are great at doing that.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I speak up too much. I'm
So
like,
it's being aware of what you have to offer, and that's part of the skill set is. And if I'm listening, I'm taking notes to get know yourself, know what you're good at, what you're strong at, and then try to follow that as.
well, there's even a more selfish thing. It's what's fun. I don't enjoy getting a phone call. What's that sound when they're driving the car? What do you mean the sound? Well, there's a funny sound when they're driving the car in that black and white scene. What do you mean funny? Well, it's honky. You mean the trumpet? Well, is that what it is? But it sounds like a weird trumpet. Well, okay. It's 1960s New York, black and white. There was once a man called Miles Davis who played a thing called a muted trumpet. It's like, I'm done. Like, I can't do it. I can't do it. There's so much, it's so subjective. And so to me, I don't know, it's just not, I'm overgeneralizing.
Let me ask you this question. I don't know if I'm always curious. You're composing your film composer hat on right now. It's a love scene. What instruments do you choose? How do you write that?
Well, there's a lot of times you go against the grain, and this is exactly what happens, especially in Chris's movies. Chris has a saying, you can't have two jokes. So when we did Guffman, he said, look, I just want a little band, one violin. It's a small town. I want a violin, saxophone, piano, bass, drums. That's it. So I made up a little template in my sequencer, and I started doing the songs, and I'm like, these just aren't emotionally moving enough. And I said to Chris, I said, what if there's a guy in Blaine, that's where the Guffman takes place, that could play anything? And so I can add glockenspiel and a synth pad or timpani or a trumpet or whatever. And he goes, you're in the movie. So that's me and Guffman that's playing the trumpet and the timpani at the same time. So, but anyway, there's a song in Waiting for Guffman. It's called Penny for Your Thoughts. And Corky St. Clair is playing the male lead because the other guy, the macho guy, dropped out. And Corky's very effeminate. And he's playing this soldier just back from or off to war. And they sing this song, Penny for Your Thoughts. Well, it's hilarious because it's so wrong that he's singing this song to this girl, this love song to her. But I make this song a real love song, right? I don't have to make it funny. It's already funny. And another thing I would say is there's a song when Eugene Levy comes out and sings, and he's not a singer, and he's a dentist. But what I'm scoring is his own internal overinflated opinion of himself. So the music is grand and huge and beautiful and gorgeous, and it just works because it's going against the grain a little bit. So I don't know, love scene. The last thing I would do would be to go right on the spot, and so I'm always trying to work a little bit to the left of it,
Got it. Great. Love the answer. Tell me that you guys are working on another. We need more comedy. Are you guys putting out another film? Tell me he's working on.
Well, that's the rumor.
Yep.
That's the rumor that's going around. I've talked to the guys, and it could happen. I would love to work on it. I can't say too much more than it. gonna have dinner with Harry tomorrow night, so I'm gonna find out
Keep us. We'll
the real truth. But I know
stay on
everyone
the
would
edge of
love
our
it.
seats here.
And these guys, by the way, I'd like to add, these guys are great musicians. These guys, and they're like musicologists. They know music history. They know different instruments, how they're built, and they're just geniuses, and they're lovely to work with. And I got my fingers crossed for everyone that we're going to do
right.
that next
Well,
Christmas.
ours are as well.
I think there's a good chance. Let me put it that way.
All right.
Great. Well, we are going to take another real quick break, CJ. So I hope you
Got
can
it.
out with a little longer. We're going to take you out here with "It's All About Believing" by Def Leppard. Can you tell us in a very, very, very quickly, because we're over time, about the song and working with these guys?
Well, I
Head
got
on back.
introduced to Phil Collin, the guitar player from Def Leppard, by Greg Ladani, who was one of my dearest friends, and he just said, "You guys should write together." We started writing songs, and one of the songs we wrote, he was playing the stuff for the band. And the band goes, "What is that? We want to do that. We want to cut that song." And so I ended up producing that for them, and it's paying homage to Def Leppard for sure. I'm a huge Def Leppard fan, but I put my own twist on it. You can hear it in the intro. It's a very cinematic intro, sound effecty. You know, it's got all this kind of. So, you know, I never want to like just put just my stamp on it, but I always like to bend people a little away from while paying honor to them. So I think that you'll hear that in the song.
All right, enjoy it. Here it is. It's Def Leppard, and it's all about believing. We will be right back. Before I leave you, though, we're talking with CJ Vanston. He's a film composer, record producer, songwriter, and a keyboardist, but he's also the co-producer and co-writer on several tunes on the new Jeff Skunk Baxter album, Speed of Heat, released June 17th. Put it on your calendar, by BMG Renewal Records, and you can pre-order it everywhere now, from Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, everywhere it's out there. Pre-order June 17th. We'll be right back. Okay. So we got 4:55 on my clock, CJ. You got to guess. You got somebody showing up in.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. When he shows up, I need to go get the door and tell him to go sit down and be quiet.
Okay.
I'm willing to go longer. Don't worry
We
about it.
need 2 more segments. They can be short.
We need 2 more segments. Oh, well, I got some good questions. I don't want to let go either.
Well, let's burn through them.
Right.
I would like to correct one thing. I co-produced the entire record.
Oh, okay, that's what
Right.
somebody.
And there were only 2 songs I didn't write, and those were Steely Dan songs.
Okay.
I got a quick question for him if I can.
Okay.
I know you got lots.
Come back.
Yeah.
Let me just introduce and
Sure.
Can I correct it once, or do you want me to go back and correct on through?
I'll correct it. You want me to?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, okay.
you go ahead. It'd probably be
I love
nicer
to
if you did it.
corrected.
Here we go.
I'm always corrected. Why would this show be any different?
And this is something I wouldn't have done 15 years ago.
No,
You know?
you
I just let
shouldn't.
everything slide. And then you see so much stuff slide. You go, you know what? I'm gonna.
No. You should
for myself.
deserve everything you've
Yeah.
earned. And
Exactly.
do you want us to? I could re-record this when we're done, and you could.
No, don't worry about that. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry
Okay.
about it. Yeah. All right. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. You're live.
My very special guest today is CJ Vanston. If you're just joining us, I never hit the console. I'm hitting the console. Hopefully, I'm not ruining your eardrums
No,
when
you're fine.
when you're all listening. But I'm excited. CJ Vanston's on the show.
My ears were ruined years ago, by the way. Don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, I'm apologizing to the listeners when they hear this show. They probably hear this pounding in the background. I'm just excited. I'm like,
Good.
CJ's here, and we're talking so many
We're having
great
fun.
things. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
having fun.
Good.
You have a correction for me, and I'm so sorry that we want to get everything right here on the show. Regarding the new Jeff Skunk Baxter album that's out, Speed of Heat, on not out yet, June 17th, but you're hearing a lot of it here on the show. Thanks to CJ and Mike Gormley of LA Personal Development. Thank you so much, Mike, for all your help.
Yep.
CJ, correct me here. What as far as the credits?
Well, I co-produced the whole record and wrote everything on it except for the 2 Steely Dan covers with Jeff and the whatever subsequent artist. The only reason I wanted to tell you that is we've worked on this record for a long time. It's probably 12 years because we were never intending to really make an album.
Yeah.
And we just kind of would get together and make some music. And then a couple of years back, we said, man, we got all this stuff. We should just put this into an album and get everything up to snuff. And we thought some of it would sound dated. Some of it we'd have to redo. Some of it we'd have to throw away. It was all valid and felt really good. So I'm really proud of it. Someone asked me the other day, what style is the album? And I said, There is no one style for this thing. It's
Yeah,
just the stuff we love.
Dr. D, you're
You
gonna
know?
love that opening song with the bagpipes and all
Yeah.
that and the drums.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so good.
The Ladies from Hell is the name
Ladies
of it.
from Hell, which you're gonna explain in a moment. But I wanted, before you do, Richard,
Okay,
got a
we'll catch
question,
up.
but I have one question first.
Go ahead.
How's the album doing? Because I know it got to number one, or the single, the first single got to the number one. I saw from Mike Gormley. How's it doing? How's it received?
You know, when you asked me about working on large films and stuff, I told you I wasn't good at that. I'm the worst guy in the world when it comes to
The singles.
how's it doing, how many it's sold, keeping in touch with the record company. I'm just lame at that.
Well,
I have no idea. I never check.
Back to,
I never look.
you just feel it. You love it. You know it.
Well, I'm hoping people are listening to it. So there's nothing I can do. It's out of my hands. Although being on here helps a lot to be able to talk about this record, because I feel very strongly about this record. I know people are going to love it. So
Yeah, it really is one of those that I think is going to be like a defining album. It's just really good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yep.
And it's good to hear that kind of, it's just good to hear good music and good musicians again. And
Oh, yeah.
Michael McDonald's on it, right? Clint Black.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Any other artists that I'm not mentioning?
Johnny Lang, the blues giant. And, you know,
Yeah.
each of these guys, our motto was, we'll work with you, but we're going to take you out of your lane and do something that
Yeah.
you don't usually do. And the song we do with Michael McDonald called "A Place in the Sun,"
We close.
it's like a prayer.
Hmm.
And it is so moving, so goosebumpy, and that came out great. And then Clint Black ends up as a huge Steely Dan fan, and he was goofing around. And he played this really obtuse riff that you'd never think Clint Black would play, and that became the basis of that song. So it's very Steely Dan sounding song. Clint Black's. Johnny Lang's, there's an element of Prince in it. You know,
Wow.
so we're taking the guys out of their lane a little bit.
Very
There's
good.
another way.
Michael McDonald's a
Yeah.
friend of the show. He's been on before.
Yep.
So we got
Oh, he's such a great guy.
Such
And
a
goosebumpy working with him. You're gonna love that song. Everybody is.
Yeah, we're actually premiering that for the listener. In
Oh,
its
good.
entirety,
That's right.
the entire song
good.
at the very end of this interview. Dr. D, you had a question. We'll
I've
probably
got
have to
that
take a
laid out,
break.
ready to go. Yeah, I'll ask the question and let you answer and then go from there. As I said, I've been doing this for 43 years. I have produced commercials, programs. I have produced audiobooks. I've even produced music for people in my early days. And the one thing that I loved more than anything else producing, aside from this program, is radio theater. And I was 21 years old. That's 40 years ago. I was producing a Norman Corwin play called The Moat Farm Murder. And I had such a blast with all of the, today, primitive means by which to create sound effects and do all of the different things. And I'm wondering, with all that you're doing, because you mentioned about the one song that we came back with, what Led Zeppelin was it?
Led Zeppelin? No.
Was it that song?
Which
or
song?
was it the one with the sound effects you had mentioned, CJ?
Oh, Def Leppard.
Def Leppard, yeah, Def Leppard. What did I say? Anyway, and I'm just wondering if you have ever branched out into other areas aside from just music, or has music, can I put it this way, does music have a stranglehold on you that you're not going anywhere else?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, I'm a writer also, and I'm currently shopping a couple TV shows. I've got an animated series that both Fox and Comedy Central are interested in. I've got another series, a live action. They're all music based, and talking to Sony about that one. And then I also have a couple movie scripts I've written that if I get those things sold, then I'll have enough of a name. Maybe I can get those made. I really want to leave behind. I've lived a crazy, crazy life.
Yeah.
Stories. We could do 4 hours here, and I've just tell you some of the wildest stories, as many musicians can, but I've had more than my share. So I want to leave these stories behind. So I love writing also.
Well, we thank you for writing all that you've written, especially the songs and the music, and bringing it to us. This has just been fabulous. You want to take us to break, Jeremiah?
We're gonna go out with a Joe Cocker song. Tell us, can you give us
Joe.
a little click? Can you give us a little story on that?
Backside,
a quick
behind the
story
story,
on the way
behind the
out.
scenes.
I love. I don't give you any time to set these up, but
Well, I got a call from Chris Lord-Alge, another legendary engineer that I've spent 30 years working with, who I should have mentioned before. He's a dear friend. He's such a genius. he was working with Joe Cocker, and he needed someone to come in and sit down at the piano and help find the right keys. That's all they wanted me to do. So I went to the studio and I met Joe. Hi, nice to meet you, Mr. Cocker. And I looked down, the music was like, those aren't the right chords. And I said, well, this needs to be here. And what if, why are you even going to this? Why don't we chop this out and go to this? And we did this on about 8 songs. And the manager's sitting back there and watching what's going on. And Joe said, well, he's playing on my record, isn't he? The manager's like, well, I don't know. Well, of course, I ended up arranging the entire record when they heard my, ability to chop sections out, change keys, get things, bring in different sounds. And the record was a huge success. And Joe asked me to do his world tour. And I agreed to do it for only one reason. I wanted to hear that voice come out of the monitors every night. And let me tell you, sitting behind Joe Cocker, and he and I had a special musical link. I could pep him up when I wanted to, and he'd go into his Rocket Man pose. And so, we 94, we opened our first gig on that tour was playing to 600,000 people at Woodstock 2.
600, you say 600,000?
600,000, yeah.
Oh, gee
So
whiz.
we ended up touring over 50 countries together, 2 or 3 times around, and, just sitting on having meals together and talking about tomatoes and dogs, and just a wonderful, wonderful guy. What a great experience. And so later on, after doing that for about 15 years, no, 10 years, I guess, they asked me to produce an album for him. And I finally produced Heart and Soul, which this song is off.
And features Eric Clapton. All right,
Yep.
Enjoy. We'll be right back after this break. We're talking with legendary film composer, producer, writer, screenwriter, and keyboardist, also a songwriter, CJ Vanston. We'll be right back after this break. But find him on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at CJ Vanston.
You're clear. We're ready for the final segment.
Okay,
You can
final
do whatever you want.
So we're going to come in with, let me mention this song. We're going to come in with, I guess we're going to come in with Toto.
Okay.
Toto, because I haven't dropped these in yet. So
Right.
Toto, I need to make sure we match these. Toto, is it Orphan?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Here we go.
All right,
We're
here we go.
back.
3, 2, 1. You're live.
We're back with CJ Vanston. If you're just joining us, he's just such a talented artist and has added so much to our lives. Oh my God. So let me just mention a couple of them. The list is too long to mention here, but I'd encourage you to look him up and follow him on his social. You can pretty much find him on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, on all of them at CJ Vanston. He's a producer, a co-producer, excuse me, on the new album by Jeff, the solo album out by Jeff Skunk Baxter, Speed of Heat. He wrote the songs, all but 2, I believe. Let me tell you, he's as a film composer, a couple of the things here. If you haven't heard a couple of the major projects that CJ has worked on, he's Waiting for Guffman, Almost Heroes, Best in Show, Sweet Home Alabama, A Mighty Wind, Slingshot, For Your Consideration, Mascots, the list goes on. But he's also worked on a lot of albums, either on or with, producing, writing, and playing on albums by Prince, NSync, Barbra Streisand, Ringo Starr, Celine Dion, Bob Seger, Richard Marx, Tina Turner, Joe Cocker, Peter Cetera, Spinal Tap. Goes on. And we just came in with Toto, Orphan. Tell us a little bit about Toto, and welcome back, CJ.
Nice to be back. Thank you. Well, as I told you, in Chicago, I was a session musician. And the minute I set foot in the studio, I knew this would be where I'd want to spend my life. But our rhythm section, first of all, we hailed the band Toto because many people do not know Toto played on everybody's records, from Michael Jackson to Lionel Richie to Chaka Khan. It's all Toto on the Pointer Sisters. That's all the Toto guys playing on those records. So they called our rhythm section the Toto of Chicago. So when I came here to LA, I couldn't wait to get in the studio with these guys. And I worked with Jeff. I worked with a little bit with Steve Porcaro, but he's a keyboard player, and David Page, but a lot with Steve Lukather. and we developed a really good relationship. I ended up producing a couple of Steve's solo albums, and the band heard that stuff. And David Page gave me a call, and he says, "We're making our Sgt. Pepper, and we want you to work on it." So I had a meeting with the band, and I said, "Okay, you want me to work on this record?" I mean, this is a dream for me. Again, like I said before, the term I use is I would have cut off one of my toes when I was 20 years old for just to meet the guys, let alone work, play, make a record, make a good record, and gain their respect and friendship. So I said, "So you're doing the record. What do you want me to do on it?" And David walked up and he put his hands on both my shoulders and he said, "We want you to do everything." And I said, "You know what? That's what I do. Let's do it." So we spent, 8 or 10 months making a Toto 14, and it ended up being a record that, by the way, the reason it was called 14, Toto 4 was considered the benchmark of all Toto records. And that it won all the Grammys and everything like that. So after that, they had different names they started titling their records, and when we started working on this, people started saying, "This is like Toto 5. This has that kind of legacy."
Yeah.
They were mentioning it in the same breath as Toto 4. So we looked up the number of records, and there had been Toto 14. So instead of Toto 4, it was Toto 14. So the fact they gave it a Roman numeral was the highest honor to me I could have ever gotten, because we made a record worthy of being mentioned alongside Toto 4. And it really was a watershed record for them. Ended up opening a lot of ears and bringing a younger generation into hearing them again. Then Africa started getting covered, and then that started playing. So they're still playing songs on that record on their tours. And
Africa, didn't it make I don't, it's never gone away, but it's made some kind of a major comeback.
Huge, gigantic. But it's one of the great honors of my life, doing that record. And that's one of the things where I go, anything happens to me, I'm cool. I did what I needed to do here.
You've done so much. How important are the relationships in this business and to you?
Oh my God, it's so huge. Well, first of all, you can't create with someone that you can't stand. For me, I can't. Some people can, and some people can't, and you find out really quickly who you can get along with. I mean, I remember the first time I met David Crosby. He walked in the studio, and I was with Russ Kunkel, Lee Sklar, Dean Parks, Phil Ramone producing at Jackson Brown's studio. And Crosby walks in, and his hair is sticking all out, and he's, "Hey, cats, how you doing?" All of a sudden he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, who the hell are you?" I said, "I'm the new keyboard player." And he goes, "Yeah, I need a new keyboard player, like I need a hole in my head." And I said, "Hey, old man, why don't you go back to prison?"
Oh my God.
And he stood there, because I figure I'm either going to get fired,
Yeah.
but we're not going to live this way.
Yeah.
He stepped back, put his hands on his hip, and he goes, "You and me are going to get along just fine."
Oh,
And that was it. And we had a great relationship.
Nice.
I love him to death. He was just being salty, So a lot of it, your personality is a huge part of it. And you got to be tight with people, and you have to trust people.
Yeah.
And you got to not be afraid to suck, especially when you're working with guys like Tony. You guys, "I got this idea. I don't know if it's any good." Or you don't even play on the idea because you're too shy to do it. So you have to feel comfortable enough to present something, and then have them go, "Nah," and go, "All right, let's move on."
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Good advice. Yeah. All right. Well, we do have to wrap up,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but CJ, we got to have you back more.
Oh, please.
Hopefully you had enough fun to come back, and we can bribe you back here when you do new. You're always creating and doing.
Well, remind me to tell you the Jeff Beck story. I'll hold that back.
No, tell it. Do you want to tell it now?
Go for it.
Sure.
Tell it now. If you got.
This is
I was
one
going to
of
give you
the
a final
great
word.
ones.
So.
Oh, no, this is one of the great. It's a good one to leave you with. So 1981, I was in Chicago, and I was in a band called Trillion, and we got called to open for Jeff Beck, and that was ridiculous that we even did that. So we went down to Carbondale, Illinois, and it was a giant indoor arena. We did our set, and Jeff Beck was watching me play, and I was showing off and trying to be cool. And So we finished and we went out to the front of house console. They got some folding chairs and set them up for us. The lights go down and out comes Jeff Beck and starts playing. And it's just like seeing God. That guy is just on another planet. Well, after about 5 or 6 songs, I've got to go to the bathroom. And I'm sitting there. But Jeff Beck's playing. It's like, I got to hold it. I can't. It's like, oh my God, I got to go. I got to go so bad, but I can't leave. What's the best thing that could possibly happen? Drum solo. Now I can go to the bathroom. So Simon Phillips was the drummer there. So I ran backstage, showed him my laminate, went backstage, took a pee, and on the way back, that's when the PA cabinets were from the floor up, right?
Yeah.
So behind the PA cabinet is a cooler, and I grab a beer, pop it open. I lean back, and right there, standing 8 feet above me with his back to the speakers where the crowd's out there. He's covered by the speakers. He's just standing there smoking a cigarette. And the whole time, lights are flashing. And I'm standing there going, that's fucking Jeff Beck right there. Oh my God, I can't believe it. He looks like James Bond. He's so cool. Takes a cigarette, drops it, goes to step on it, falls off the stage onto the concrete in front of me.
Oh,
There's nobody around. I'm the only person there. I ran over and go, Mr. Beck, Mr. Sir Beck, sir, are you okay? And he rolls over. You're gonna have to beep some of this out. He rolls over and his pants are ripped all the way down to the ankle. He's ripped his pants and he's jiffy popping. His BVBs are sticking out. You know, it's like not how you want to see your hero, right?
yeah.
Are you okay? And he goes, I ripped my fucking pants. I ripped my fucking pants. I'm like, oh my God, you gotta say, you okay to get up? He says, yeah. So I pick him up like with superhuman strength and I go, oh my God, he's exactly my size. So I take him back to the dressing room and the whole time, the drum solo's going. Now the roadies are looking for him. They see me, they think I'm kidnapping him or something. He's like, no, he's okay, he's okay. I said, tell Simon to stretch the drum solo. So they tell the drum tech, and the drum tech does the rubber band, you know, and Simon's like, whoa, I guess I'm kicking ass here. He has no idea what's going on, right? So it just keeps going, the drum solo keeps going. So we go back to the dressing room. I go through my wardrobe, I pull a pair of pants, and I turn around, and he's standing there in his underwear with skinny legs like me, and it was like, oh my God, not what you want to see. And so I hand him the pants, and he goes, I ain't wearing no purple pants. Oh, really? Oh, now you're going to be the Mr. Chooser here, not the beggar. Okay, interesting. Then I remembered I had a pair of black pants. And so I reached way down the wardrobe. I said, well, how about these? And he put them on and he turns around like asking me, how does my ass look in these pants? You know, that move that people do. I'm going, you look fine. So the roadies grab him, they take him down the hall, and the whole time, and all of a sudden I hear it way out there. And all of a sudden it hit me. Jeff Beck is on stage playing in my pants right now. This is unbelievable. I can't wait to tell the band. So I run and run. I go around the front of the house, run up to the front of the house console, and the band looks at me and they go, where the hell did you go? You just missed the greatest drum solo of all time.
How do you tell what
guys,
behind the scenes? That's crazy.
Guys, got a little story for you. He's wearing my pants right now.
I saved him.
Oh man!
So he threw a party
I
for me
actually
after the concert.
I actually expected you to
That's
give him your
awesome.
pants right there down below the stage there. I actually did.
That's such a good story.
You know
I'm glad
what? Why didn't I do that?
I'm glad we extended. That's
Oh,
such
me
a good
too.
story. I love that
Oh,
story.
fabulous.
That's my closer.
It's a good closer. Well, CJ, let me have you close one last thing here. Set up. We're going to play right now for everybody listening out there. The new song from Speed of Heat. It's Jeff Skunk Baxter's first real solo album. And co-producer CJ Vance has been on with us this whole time, telling us some great stories. We're going to listen to now, though. I think it's one of your favorites here, if I'm not wrong. You mentioned set up this song for us. It's Michael McDonald, and My Place in the Sun is the title of the song. Again, it's on Speed of Heat. It's going to be out on June 17th, so pre-order your copies now. Set us up for it, CJ, and then we're gonna take you out with just a beautiful.
Well, we were making an instrumental record, and then Michael's name came up, and I said, "Man, can you call him? Can you get him on this?" And Jeff was doing a charity event and ran into him. Michael said, "I'm in. I'll do it." So we went and picked him up at LAX, drove to my studio, and sat down. And in about 3 hours, this song just came out so easily, and it was such a beautiful. It's a prayer. And My Place in the Sun is basically when everything's dark and I'm down. Whatever your place you go that makes you feel good, that's my place in the sun, and that's what this song is about. And the conversation between him and Jeffrey's just genius guitar playing. I mean, I should just say this. I think Jeff Baxter, if they ever make a Mount Rushmore for guitar players, he's going to be on it.
Yeah.
That's how heavy he is.
Talents
He's
are
amazing,
really
a beautiful person on top of it. So I really value our years together, and you can hear it on the record how much we love each other and how much we love Michael. So that's what this song is.
We love this album. Thank you for sharing it with us. And again, I'm going to say it one more time because I really believe this is going to be the album of the year. It's going to be the album of the summer. It is good. You want it at the beach. You want it in your car. You're going to be barbecuing and camping and sharing it with your friends. I mean, this is what it's all about. This album has everything. Pick it up. You can pre-order June 17th. It's out by BMG and Renewal Records. It's co-produced by our guest today, CJ Vanston. You can pre-order right now, and again, it's out June 17th. It is Speed of Heat, and we're going to let you go now. Let everybody go. My Place in the Sun. Enjoy. And CJ, can't wait to see you again, my friend. Really had a good time. Thank you, Mike Gormley, for introducing us. I just want to say that one more time.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, he's a personal consultant in the music industry. You can get him LAPRDEV.com, LA Personal Development. And he's a great guy to contact. Okay, here it is, CJ Vanston, and you can find him on all social media at CJ Vanston. Here is A Place in the Sun. Enjoy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right, we're clear, and let's get a voice drop.
Oh, yeah. So you've probably done a million of these. Just mention your name, the album. It's a promotion that will drop in, for the year, and mention yourself, and then you're listening to the Jeremiah Show, right?
That's it.
Yeah, something like that. Does that make sense?
Got it.
All right, I'll give you a countdown. 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, this is CJ Vanston. I'm a producer, engineer, keyboard player, and film composer. And I'm here today because I'm on the Jeremiah Show. And I am been called to talk about the new record that I'm very proud of that I did with Jeff "Skunk" Baxter, legendary guitar player from Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers. It's called Speed of Heat, and you're going to hear a few cuts here on the show. And we're having a blast talking, and I hope you enjoy it too. CJ Vanston out.
Give me that cue. And you're listening to The Jeremiah Show.
And you're listening to The Jeremiah Show.
El Perfecto. Oh, and by the way, if you're ever looking for voices for that animated cartoon thing, I've always wanted to get into voice work, but it has to be run by propane and propane accessories.
Okay.
I'm serious.
Noted.
I would love to do that. And I'm not saying, hey, pick me, but it's something I've been doing voices for years. I've loved doing stuff like that, and I would love an opportunity, and I know there's auditions and stuff.
Pitched,
I know. You
got an interview and a pitch.
Take the opportunities where they come.
Absolutely.
Hey, thank you so much.
Enjoy with your friend.
That was fun, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'll send this to you later.
Yep.
And Mike and Skunk and everybody will put it out. It'll air this week, and I'll send you all the dates for that.
Sounds fantastic. That was a blast.
CJ, thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You bet.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.
All right.